Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. My dear students in grade 9 or prep 3, first term, today, inshallah, we will have a new session with A Tale of Two Cities, chapter 3. The title is The Showmaker. Place Saint-Antoine, Paris, France. Time 1775, 18th century. A white-haired man was sitting on a low bench, his back to the door, facing the room's only window. That was, of course, Dr. Mannit after he was released from the prison, and he was staying in an attic with the help of Monsieur Divas. Let's go directly to the summary of the chapter. The wreck of Dr. Mannit. When Divas opened the room, Mr. Lorry saw a white-haired man sitting on a low bench and busy working on a pair of shoes. He was giving his back to the door and facing the only window in the room. His long white hair and beard contrasted sharply with his dark eyebrows and indicated that they have become so from suffering and agony rather than by age. Agony here means the one who is suffering or before he is dying. Okay, the time when the one is dying. When Divas asked him to tell the visitors his name, he replied 105 North Tower. And take care, my dear students, that this is one of the most important quotations in the first term and in chapter 3, because it signifies the bad condition that Dr. Mannit was in when he was released from prison after 18 years he had spent in prison. Mr. Lorry tried to make the old man remember him as an old, faithful friend and banker, or to remember his faithful servant, but in vain. He couldn't remember. Lucy Mannit put her fear aside and moved slowly towards her father and stood beside him. Dr. Mannit caught sight of her skirt and raised his head slowly until he was looking into her face. The same strands of golden hair. When we see Lucy Mannit, we see that she looked like her mother. She was a beautiful young girl, and she also had the same color of her mother's hair. The poor man was confused to see a young lady in his prison cell, for he still believed he was in prison. He wondered, "You are not the jailer's daughter." Here, as you see, my dear students, Dr. Mannit was in a bad condition that he thought he was not released from the prison, and he thought that he was still staying in his solitary cell. So he was astonished to see a lady in his prison cell, for he still believed he was in prison. He wondered, "You are not the jailer's daughter." Dr. Mannit took out a folded rag where he had kept a few strands of his wife's golden hair and picked up Lucy's hair with a gasp, saying, "It's the same. How can it be? When was it?" Also, this very important quotation because it tells us that Dr. Mannit didn't know that he had a child or he had a baby or he had a girl or a daughter. And when he left his house, his wife was pregnant. So he didn't know that he had a girl or he had a daughter. Lucy's golden hair and her lovely face made the old man remember his wife, whom he had last seen 18 years earlier, before he was taken to prison. Lucy fell to her knees and took her father in her arms, saying, all I can tell you now is that your misery is ended. I will take you to England and make you well and make a home for us. Mr. Lorry and Devange made the preparations for the journey back to England as soon as possible. Devange picked up the shoemaking bench and tools and followed them down into the street. Why? Because before they left, Dr. Mannit asked, did you bring my tools? They said, we will bring them. When he was leaving, Dr. Mannit looked up, searching for the towers on the prison and the guards, but he only saw Madame Devange, who leaned against the door of the wine shop knitting. I hope he won't regret being recalled to life, whispered Devange as the carriage went away. Here, as you see, my dear students, that Monsieur Devange expected that Dr. Mannit will face and see hard times after he had been released from prison, especially during the time of the revolution. Commentary. Dr. Mannit was once a great and skillful doctor in France. Although we are introduced to him as a shoemaker in chapter 3, this shows how far he suffered and how his mind and body weakened as a result of his long imprisonment. This also shows how fearful the Bastille is. That's the prison. The man became a shoemaker, so weak and shaking. He isn't sure of anything. He even forgot his name. He is shocked when he is called by his real name. When he was leaving the dreadful city where he suffered great agony, he didn't forget his shoemaking tools, which became an important part of him. Now, my dear students, let's go directly to questions and answers. As I told you before, 105 North Tower is one of the most important quotations, and so many questions were about this quotation, and you have to take care of that quotation, please. 105 North Tower comment. That was Dr. Mannit's answer when Devange asked him about his name. That was the number of his solitary cell in which he had been imprisoned for 18 years. This was the name he got used to hearing for 18 years, that he forgot his own name. Question number 2. What effect had prison left on Dr. Mannit? Dr. Mannit was greatly affected. He became a wreck of a man. He suffered the loss of mind, the weakness in body. He became frightened. shaking and uncertain of anything. He could remember nothing of his past life, even his name. Question number 3. Describe the meeting between Lucy and Dr. Mannit. That's a very important question. When Lucy first saw her father, she pitied his poor condition. She was afraid to get closer to him. When she stood beside him and his eyes caught the sight of her, he stared at her because she reminded him of his wife. As I told you, Lucy looked like her mother, and she also had the same color of her mother's hair. That night long ago, when I was called out of the house, she had laid her head on my shoulder. She was afraid for me to go. Comment. Dr. Mannit said this when he saw Lucy. She reminded him of her mother and the night he was taken away to prison. She was sitting with him, laying her head on his shoulder when he was called out. Question number 5. Lucy's golden hair made Dr. Mannit remember a detailed scene that had happened 18 years earlier. What is the significance of that? Dr. Mannit, the answer, Dr. Mannit had kept a few strands of his wife's golden hair. When he saw that Lucy had the same hair, his memory was refreshed and remembered the moment he was taken, not taking. Let's correct it. He was taken. He was taken. Okay. Out of his house to the prison 18, not 8, 18. 18 years earlier. This shows that the man's memory wasn't completely lost, and there was a good possibility for him to lead a normal life once more. Question number 6. You are not the jailer's daughter. Comment. Dr. Mannit was confused when he saw a young lady in his prison cell. He thought he was still in prison and wondered what brought that young lady there. But when he saw that the young lady had the same strands of golden hair of his late wife, his weak memory was refreshed. First, he thought that the lady or Lucy Mannit was the daughter of the jailer. So he was astonished to see a lady in his solitary cell. But when he looked at her face, when he touched her hair, he realized that he was mistaken, and he took out from a rag a strand of hair that reminded him of his wife, and he began to regain his memory. Last question. It's the same. How can it be? When was it? Comment. This is also a very important question. It's the same here, the same color of his wife's hair, the same color of his wife's hair. How can it be? When? How did this happen? When was it? When he got a new baby, or when he had a daughter? Okay, because when he left the house, his wife was pregnant, so he didn't know that he had a daughter. Dr. Mannit said this when he saw Lucy's hair. He was shocked that the young lady had the same hair as his late wife. He didn't know of the birth of his daughter because she was born after he had gone to prison. And he didn't receive, of course, he didn't receive any information, and he was deprived of calling or to be in contact with anyone from the outside world or from the outside of his solitary cell. He wanted to know how and when that happened. So he said that important quotation, it's the same. How can it be? When was it? And here are some extra questions, and I want you, my dear students, to answer. And now, before we leave, I will display a part of the movie that support the chapter that we have studied. And I hope you will enjoy the performance of the actor that acted Dr. Mannit. Let's see.
Is he alone?
Alone? God help him, sir. Who should be with him?
Is the door locked?
Always?
Why?
Why? Because he's lived so long locked up alone in prison that he would rave and tear himself to pieces if this door were left open.
As you see, Divas locked the door for Miss Dr. Mannit so as not uh, to give him a chance to leave or to let anyone see him inside the room.
Still hard at work, I see.
Yes, I am working.
May I let in a little more light, Doctor? Doctor, you have visitors.
What is that?
There is someone here to see you. Tell this gentleman what kind of shoes you make.
Shoes?
Can you describe the shoes for this gentleman?
They are ladies' shoes.
And the maker's name?
Name? You ask my name?
Yes.
105 North Tower. Sir,
See, when
do you
we
not
asked him
remember?
about his name, he said 105 North Tower. It seemed that he forgot his name because he used to hear only the number that he was used to hear from the jailer. Now he's looking at his daughter, looking to Lucy.
You?
Yes.
You are the jailer's daughter?
He said that you are the jailer's daughter. He seemed afraid and scared. She came closer to him.
Who are you? I don't.
He touched her hair.
You see, it is the same. How can this be? It was so long ago when they came to take me away. We held each other, my little girl. She was in my arms. Then when I arrived at the prison, I found these on my sleeve, and I've kept them ever since. How is this? Was it you?
No, please.
It cannot be.
We've come to take you away with us. We've come to help you. Please trust us, my dear. Please trust me. Oh, my dear, please trust me. Thank God I found you. I found you again.
She said that she was happy that she found him.
My tools.
What?
Now
What's
he
that?
is
He wants
asking
his
about
tools to make the
his
shoes. A
tools
moment, Doctor. I shall be right
that he
back.
used to work
Shall we,
with
Doctor?
for so long. And here they are gonna to, yes. Now, my dear students, I want you to read the questions carefully and try to study the questions and the answers and try to answer the extra questions, answer yourself. I hope you have enjoyed my video. Till we meet again in chapter 4. Thank you very much. Don't forget to put like and subscribe to my channel. Till we meet again. Thank you and goodbye.